In this Lords of the Fallen video, I'll be going over how you can put together this complete build right here. A build so powerful it will have you pulling out your phone and sending screenshots of the damage that your character's doing to your friends. This build provides so much tankiness, you are so durable, it is so well rounded that you have great resistances, a massive amount of damage as well as damage mitigation. Now even in some of the tougher areas for this, you can see that you can take out the enemies ridiculously easy and it will allow you to face tank almost everything in the game, including most bosses. Now this is a very endgame build, so you will have to have quite a few stats, but if you're someone who wants to be playing New Game Plus or New Game Plus a few times over, then this build is definitely something you want to look into, because every single point you're investing in it is going to make your character stronger and make your build do more damage because of the weapon we'll be basing this around. Now when I took this footage I was nearly level 150, and the main stats you're going to want to invest in will either be Inferno or Radiance depending which path you choose, and then Vitality with enough in the rest in order to cover what you've got equipped. This makes your defensive stats and your resistances pretty much off the charts and are some of the best I've seen currently in the game. The reason for that is how we've combined our weapons and our armor sets, and the armor is pretty much top notch because we're going to be using the Scourge Sisters helmet and the Tancred's armor set. It's a whole bunch of heavy mitigation, but we've also managed to maintain that medium loadout, allowing us to dodge perfectly as well as tank whenever we need to. If you're all about doing a lot of damage, standing your ground and having a lot of fun playing through the game rather than dying every 2 minutes if you make a mistake, then this build is going to be perfect for you. Now personally I went the fire route because that was what I'd invested in from the very early game, but because of what we're going to be using, if you wanted to use this in a radiant setup it would work exactly the same, except you'd put more stats into that overall. We're going to be buffing our build with a whole bunch of spells which will help our survivability massively. Some of them are vastly going to increase your damage, whereas other ones, like the health regen one we've got, is going to give us 40 HP a second, allowing us to stand our ground in almost every situation. And two that I'd recommend you keep on your bar at all times are going to be Aura of Tenacity and Adir's Hardiness. Tapping both of these will mean you get a ridiculous amount of mitigation, whereas you're already very tanky as it is. Now you get almost 50% extra damage mitigation, allowing you to survive hits that you probably shouldn't most times. Now on the other hand, if you want to increase your damage, the best one's going to be Infernal Weapon if you're going down that fire route, or you're going to use the Holy Version alternative to this if you're going down the Radiance path. Lastly, and there's two spells that are interchangeable, another great one to use is going to be Adir's Rage. This is going to allow you to get around about 10% extra damage increase, and it's going to apply to your spells and pretty much everything you're doing. So whether you're hitting things in the face with your fire swords or whether you're casting from afar, this is going to come into play. Lastly, Sanctify. As you can see in the video here, it is an absolute beast. You are able to regen your health and take so many hits that you can face off against the toughest baddies without worrying too much most times. But those last two spells are interchangeable and I usually equip them for boss battles, but when you're running through the level you can put on pretty much whatever you want. Keeping this exact setup will mean you'll be able to run through levels, pretty much heavy swing your way through any enemy in front of you without too much trouble, but if you want to swap one of them out, then take one out of these two and chuck in a spell of your choosing. Probably a long range damage spell would be best. Now the weapon we're going to be basing this whole build around, and in my opinion probably the best weapon in the game, is going to be Judge Cleric's Corrupted Sword. At max level this scales to B+ in strength and agility and A+ into Radiance and Inferno. It's also one of the very few weapons in the game that actually scales into physical, holy and fire, meaning no matter what you're doing with your build you're going to hit everything hard regardless of what type it is. You can invest massively into this sword, and anytime you put points into your build it's just going to make it even more powerful, whereas others may slow down a little bit late game. For example, the Lord's Fallen sword I've already found starting to fall off, whereas this just keeps on getting more powerful. Now you're going to be two-handing this weapon, and I found the best runes to chuck into it are going to be the Satus rune, increasing your holy damage. Remember this sword dips into both holy and fire, so it's going to increase its damage no matter what you're speccing into, a Shon rune to increase your elemental damage, and a Relox rune which is going to mean your attacks deal additional power whenever you're doing those big heavy two-handed swings. To enhance this even further, we've gone with Jeffrey's Dagger, and this is just one of the easiest and best offhand weapons to use if you're using it just to buff your primary weapon, because it's so light at just 1.9 weight, and it comes with 3 any slots, allowing you to do whatever you want with your build. For us, we're going to chuck all 3 into the Relox runes, allowing you to get even more damage to your heavy swings. All of this together makes me hit around about 3.7k at max, but we've still got loads of points we can put into the build. I could see this hitting 5k upwards with heavy investment to your attributes if you're going to be doing a few of the New Game Plus. For your pendant slot, we've gone with Rogar's Delight. This is going to increase your fire damage, and it's also had an increase to its elemental resist, so now you're very durable in those later levels where fire damage is coming your way. Now the ring we have to equip for this is going to be Ring Preeminence, as this ring is going to allow us to cast those radiant spells, whereas previously we would only be able to do the Inferno. And another one that's perfect for helping our build with a bit of sustain and regen is going to be the Mana Stone ring. This is going to allow us to keep a lot of uptime with our buffs, perform some magic, healing, whatever we need to do without it running that too fast. If you need a little bit more, on your New Game Plus runs you'll be speccing more into the Inferno and Radiance, giving you more magic, or you could always use some magic stones for a bit more regen. But with this build I was taking out bosses left, right and centre, allowing me to have a lot more fun, see some crazy damage numbers, and surviving attacks that no doubt would have completely wiped me out if I didn't have this setup on. Lastly, for your Umbral lamp, you're going to want to make sure that you grab the Eye of Loash, which is going to help you with your heavy swings, and whatever damage you take within that time is going to be wither damage, which you can replenish straight away when you hit them with your attack. And for our secondary, the Umbral Eye of Betrayed Iliad allows us to get 25% extra healing efficiency whenever we're in Umbral, just making us overall even more survivable. I am having an absolute blast with this build, it's probably my favourite one in the game. Let me know in the comments if there's any spells or any weapons that you think I'm missing out on. But as always, for all things gaming, take care. I'll see you on the next day.